Everybody, hello. I'm back after a very long weekend. I took a couple of days off to recover and recuperate after what was quite a significant event in the world of the ex and former Scientology movement here in the UK and Europe. Obviously, we were protesting outside St. Hill. The International Association of Scientologists event took place in near East Grinstead. And so I took a couple of days off because that was months in the making. But that doesn't mean that I'm taking time off from activism. And I thought I would come back and now I've had some sleep and some rest, update you on what's been going on behind the scenes and what to expect over the next couple of months. Because yes, the protest is now over, but this is where the work really begins. So firstly, hello to everybody in the chat. Leanie is here. Good evening, Alex. Hello, Leanie, and Mark the Dorset SP. Thank you for joining. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who showed up for the protest over the weekend. Although there were 18 of us on the Friday, less over the rest of the weekend, only 11 of us on the Sunday, we know that we were there supported by thousands, and the live streams of the three protests together combined got more than 15,000 views. And I'm not someone that really looks at views or cares much about that sort of thing, but it is important when you look at things like protesting, because there's less of us on the ground, but it gives us so much more weight when we know we are being supported by people around the world. So thank you, everybody who braved the weather, who was there in person, and who supported us online as well. Betsy Sue here, greetings from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Hello, thank you for joining. I wanted to share a couple of things with you today. These are some stuff that we picked up on the day. So this first one is courtesy of Stephen Jones, who's an ex-Scientologist in the UK, who noticed that someone left a ticket to the IAS event by the bins on the ground, which he very quickly snapped up. And I thought it was an interesting one to show you that you might be interested in. This is a ticket for the IES event, and you can see here the layout of the property. This is St. Hill Castle, with a great hall and toilets either side, marquee entrance, and then the grand marquee next to the seminar tent. And of course, Ron's home, the manor, just over there on the right. We were protesting. You see where this road is up here. This road goes up to an entrance up here, which is where we were protesting. So everybody entering the property had to walk past us or drive past us. This ticket is for the blue zone of the Grand Marquis, and you can see here ticket admit 1 to the 40th Ruby anniversary of the International Association of Scientologists. Another thing that we picked up is this flyer, dauntless, defiant, and resolute, which is the tagline of the IAS. And on the back it says, tomorrow, expansion seminar at St. Hill, 10 a.m. in the seminar tent. Be there. So this was given to people on the Friday who attended the event, and obviously inviting them up to the seminar tent here next to the Grand Marquis for the seminar. So I just thought you'd find those a little bit interesting. Obviously, Scientology have been continuing with their fair game. In fact, it has stepped up over the last couple of days, the fair game that's going on against me. I've had over 50 tweets today from various SOC accounts and Scientology accounts trying to label me this, that, and the other, which I am, of course, dealing with. But the main thing that's really important to note is the public spaces protection order that Scientology are trying to get, which would ban protesting outside St. Hill. There is a very lengthy process that that will take over the next few months, and I wanted to explain that process to you guys so you understand how important the next few months are for us as a community in the UK. The council and the police gathered evidence at this year's protest over the weekend. They were observing the protest, they were taking notes, they were taking videos, and we were doing the same. We were taking notes and videos and live streaming the whole thing, and that will lead to a decision by the council whether or not to proceed with the Public Spaces Protection Order. Now, for a PSPO to be implemented, there needs to be clear evidence of ongoing and persistent harassment and disruption to the local community in order for a PSPO to be put in place, because it is a restriction on the freedom of assembly and the right to free speech. It is a very serious matter, and there needs to be a lot of evidence in favor of banning the activity. And it needs to be shown that the activity is causing so much disruption that it actually negatively outweighs other rights, for example, the freedom of religion and so on. So they were gathering evidence, and whether or not they decide to to proceed with the PSPO, we don't know, and we won't know for some time. At the moment, there is a mini consultation period where people who were present at the event in person over the weekend are able to submit statements online to Mid Sussex District Council, and that will be used as part of the evidence gathering portion of the PSPO. So if you were there in person, you were protesting, whether you're a public resident or one of the attendees that I doubt you'll be watching, but just in case you are all invited to submit a statement to Mid Sussex District Council about how the protest affected your day and affected the local area. Now, the key thing to note is it's not here about whether the protest was, harmful, or whether you disagreed with what the protest said, or whether you disagree with the event taking place. This is purely about whether the protest itself caused disruption to the local community. So in your statement, you need to make it really clear that the protest was on the public verge. We weren't stopping people from walking along. We weren't in the road. We weren't disrupting public sort of passers-by and cars. We also weren't trying to gain access to the property. We were peacefully there on the verge with our message and our signs. The local government, the council, will then review all of that information in about 4 weeks. And if they decide to then go ahead with public consultation, that is the period that will take a month or two. If it goes to public consultation, a form will then be generated for people online to engage with. And again, the question isn't about Scientology. The question is about the protest and how much disruption it causes. So if it goes to public consultation, we will have from the end of November until the end of December, beginning of January, with which you guys can get involved and you can submit statements in support of our protest and in support of our freedom of speech and right to assembly. We're not there yet. It may not get to that point. The council may decide that it has collected enough evidence to prove after this one protest that the activity was not disruptive or persistent, and therefore a PSPO is not necessary. But it is possible they do decide to go through to public consultation. After that happens, there will be a review period, and by the end of January, we will have a decision as to whether a PSPO will be implemented and protesting will be banned outside St. Hill. If a PSPO is implemented, that has a lot of severe repercussions. What that means is other churches of Scientology around the country, and indeed other religious organizations, may look at this as a case study and start to roll out their own PSPOs across the entire UK, which would then mean that protesting would be banned outside all Scientology orgs and potentially other religious organizations too, if this PSPO gets put in place. So there's a lot riding on this PSPO situation, and so it's really important that the council get it right. If they do implement this ban in January, the recourse is to take it to the High Court, which is something that I have already publicly said that I will be doing. And of course, it is something that is going to cost a lot of money. It's going to require a lot of time, but it is something that I'm willing to do, if necessary, to protect our rights as protesters and as activists. It's really important, of course, to get across that we were not protesting Scientology's so-called religious beliefs. We were protesting the abuse that goes on inside the organization. We are saying you can believe in what you want. I don't care if you want to believe in Xenu, the overgalactic warlord that dropped H-bombs on volcanoes 75 million years ago, or whether you believe that Tom Cruise is a real-world superhero. You can believe that all you want, but you cannot treat people the way you are currently treating people. You cannot lock people in rooms. You can't throw them in the lake for punishment. You can't force people to have abortions, and so on and so forth. That is what the protest is about, and that is what we will continue to protest, provided we are legally allowed to do so. So we've got our work cut out for us, and I am very much working very hard behind the scenes to provide the council with as much evidence as I possibly can. And as part of that, I wanted to share some quotes with you. I spent some time looking at Hansard, which is the UK government's official record of everything that's ever been said in the House of Commons and the House of Lords, which is the UK Parliament. And I did a little search, and I thought I would pull up a bunch of quotes from politicians over the years that have commented on Scientology. So here we go. House of Commons debate, 8th of January 2018. Michael Gove, who was a senior government minister at the time, Michael Gove said there are significant concerns about the practices of the Church of Scientology, particularly regarding their treatment of those who speak out against them. Let's look at number 2. House of Commons debate, 14th of March 2017. David Lammy, who again was a former high-ranking politician, the allegations against the Church of Scientology regarding abuse and exploitation are deeply concerning and merit thorough investigation. And on the 19th of October, he said, the experiences of former members of Scientology highlight significant concerns about manipulation and control. We must ensure that individuals can speak out without fear. On the 1st of March 2016, Keith Vaz, Member of Parliament, said the Church of Scientology's policies can lead to serious harm to individuals, especially those who seek to leave or question its practices. The Home Affairs Select Committee said in 2015 that there are serious allegations regarding the treatment of individuals within the Church of Scientology, including harassment and psychological abuse. At a House of Commons debate on the 18th of July 2012, Ed Miliband, who was previously the leader of the Labour Party, the party that's now in government, said there have been numerous accounts of abuse and intimidation associated with the Church of Scientology. It is vital that we address these issues seriously. On the 16th of June 2011, Member of Parliament Stephen Metcalfe said the tactics employed by Scientology to silence dissent and intimidate former members are alarming. We must take action to protect those who speak out against them. 10th of March 2010, John Hamming, Member of Parliament, said the Church of Scientology engages in practices that can only be described as coercive and abusive. We must be vigilant against such organizations that prey on vulnerable individuals. MP David Wright, 30th of October 2007, said the Church of Scientology is notorious for its aggressive tactics against its critics and former members. The practices of Scientology, including its treatment of dissenters, should raise serious concern for any lawmaker. In the House of Lords, this is on the 17th of December 1996, Baroness Blatch said, if someone comes to me as a minister or to anyone else and makes allegations, and we simply refer to the matter to a member of the Church of Scientology or any other cult, it is unlikely they will say, yes, of course we harass people and extort them for money from them, or whatever it is. Their natural reaction will be simply denial. It seems to me to be important to persuade people so far as possible to produce evidence so that it can be properly responded to by the Scientology movement. In the meantime, I can say that sometimes it is fear that prevents people from doing that, and sometimes it is sheer distress, not only on the part of the individual, but on the part of the individual's family. On the 8th of August in 1980, Lord Orr Irving said the Scientologists and the Moonies seek to capture the minds of young people and, in particular, to separate them from their parents. This causes a great deal of pain and grief to such parents. Lord Wells Pestel said there is abundant evidence that they are socially harmful and their beliefs are socially harmful. House of Commons, 6th of March 1967, Peter Horden, who is the Member of Parliament for Horsham, said the effect of this organisation is that money is extracted from the weak, the credulous, and the mentally, and the technique. The credulous and the mentally I'm guessing I've got that slightly wrong. And the techniques used are potentially, and in many cases, positively harmful to the mental health of the community. I think what that's meant to say is the credulous and the mentally vulnerable. What would be quite inexcusable would be to allow great harm to come to some who are mentally ill, who would not have attended this organization had they been aware of its real nature. Minister of Health Kenneth Robson said, in many cases, the courses are said to have brought about not the enhancement of personality provided to them, but but a deterioration in mental stability and an estrangement between the person concerned and his family and friends. What they do, however, is to direct themselves deliberately towards the weak, the unbalanced, the immature, the rootless, and the mentally or emotionally unstable to promise them remolded, mature personalities and to set about fulfilling the promise by means of untrained staff, ignorantly practicing quasi psychological techniques, including hypnosis. It is true that the Scientologists claim not to accept as clients people known to be mentally sick, but the evidence strongly suggests that they do. Scientology is not merely ludicrous, which would not matter, but it is potentially harmful to its adherents. So, those are just a few quotes that I took from the government's official record of debates and discussion in the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And of course, these will be publicized on my blog, Scientology Business. And of course, I will be presenting these as evidence in my case in order to promote the freedom of speech and the right to assembly, which is trying to be banned through this public spaces protection order. Let's also not forget in the 1980s, Lord Justice Leahy ruled in the High Court that Scientology is a dangerous movement that is harmful and regarded it as a brainwashing cult. That is a ruling that has not been overturned, irrespective of Scientology's status. Now that its buildings are considered places of public worship, they are not a legally recognized religion. Their buildings are recognized as places of worship. They're not protected by, for example, charity law, because in 1999, the Church of Scientology failed to obtain charity status in the UK because they could not prove that they benefited the public. All of this to say that it is well known and well documented that Scientology is harmful and it is an abusive organization. And that is why we are out there protesting and why it is so important that we do what we can to raise awareness of the support and the resources that are available to people should they decide to leave. So I'm going to continue doing this work. I'm going to continue working full time on this, and any support that you guys can give me would be greatly appreciated. Obviously, the protest is now over, and of course, my work is carrying on. So any coffee donations, PayPal, that sort of thing, you can do that down below. That really helps me in paying, for example, the fees that you need to pay to download the documents from the Company's House website if they're particularly old, or for the StreamYard subscription that I'm using to stream to you now. There are a lot of expenses with being an activist, and any support that you can give would be greatly appreciated. But the best thing you could do is just to get involved and share and comment and like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. And if you are aware of Scientology being talked about in the media or anything like that, any previous court rulings, specifically in the United Kingdom, please send an email to me. hello@apostatealex.com is my email address. Any and all evidence would be greatly appreciated and will go in the bucket of information that will help our case to defend the PSPO. I am steadfast in my commitment to our right to free speech and our right to protest, and any attempts to ban that will be met with the full force of my activism, and I will do what I can to really promote that we are not there trying to cause alarm or distress. We're not there harassing Scientologists. We are there saying simply, you cannot treat people the way you are. And here are the quotes from government ministers from decades ago right through to the modern day that show there is a real legitimate concern about the safety of those currently trapped inside the organization. Meanwhile, children continue to be put through courses at the Church of Scientology. They continue to prey upon the vulnerable, and here is some evidence of that. These are some promotional materials that have been sent through to me. St. Hill completion. This is Anthony Rovera, who is very clearly a child, who said, after each lesson I do in a new slant on life, I gain a clearer point of view and understanding of situations I have in my life and how I can make them better. I learned that being in control in a confusing world is easy and very important. I learned new data about my 8 dynamics and see how important this information from LRH is. Some people watching this may recognize Brenda McQuaid, who obviously isn't a child, but it is someone that is well known in the Scientology world in the UK. And she just completed the basic books and lectures, who said, for me personally, studying LRH lectures reminds me of what life as a spiritual being is really about, what Scientology is really about, what freedom to be, do, and have is really about. With every lecture, I become more cause, and I will keep going until I've done them all. Daniel Dunbar. This is someone that I remember from London Org. I'm pretty sure he was on staff at the time. It doesn't look like he's on staff now, but he's a familiar face at London Org. He completed something at St. Hill, and he says, after studying the whole route, so this is the basic books and lectures, I have a certainty of what Dianetics and Scientology are, what we are doing, and what we are aiming for. I feel like the subject is mine to use. I have the subject understood. It's totally real to me what abilities we should have, and the auditing and training are the means to achieve them. Here is another picture of a child who's just completed the Success Through Communication course at St. Hill. Now, the Success Through Communication course is one of the entry-level Scientology services that you can do in any Scientology org around the world, and it's a very basic introduction to TRs, which are training routines. This is where you learn bull baiting. This is where you sit down and you enter a hypnotic state by sitting there and having another person shout things at you to try and get you to react. The whole goal is to train your mind to compartmentalize and not react. Scientology claim that it helps you confront any situation and allows you to communicate with anybody on any subject freely, which is the end goal of grade 0. The STCC is kind of an introduction to this, but it doesn't mean it's not abusive. I did the STCC as a child, and I found it incredibly harmful and incredibly dangerous. Looking back on it, I was sat there in a course room with someone hurling abuse at me for hours and hours on end. One of the things you have to do is sit there and look in someone's eyes without flinching or moving for several hours. You have to do it for 2 hours before you can pass that particular exercise and go on to the next one. It is inconceivable to me that children and vulnerable people are being forced to do this at St. Hill when they can't consent. Children don't have the ability to consent to things in the UK until you're 18. That's when you're an adult. And this is something that is going on and continues going on for decades, and it will continue going on until someone does something about it. And this is why I'm trying to raise awareness. Despite the fact government ministers have very clearly stated concerns about Scientology and their practices and the harm that they do, they're still not being stopped, and they're still going on. Betsy Sue asks here, bull baiting. Yeah, that's where you sit there and someone shouts words at you and tries to get you to react. The idea is that you can confront any situation. So someone can hurl abuse at you and scream right in your face and you don't react. The idea is it's raising your confront level. But in actual fact, no, you're just sat there and being abused verbally for hours. That is something that is incredibly harmful and dangerous. Yes, love it here, says so abusive, teaching kids to be numb. Absolutely. It's absolutely something that I'm incredibly concerned about, and I will continue campaigning. But I just wanted to check in with everybody here on the channel to let you know I'm still here. I took 2 days off, but I'm back at it. Over the last 2 days, I have been continuing my conversations with the council, and I have confirmed that the metal barriers that Scientology placed along the verge next to the entrance to St. Hill where we were protesting, Scientology claimed that they were placed there by Mid Sussex District Council, and that's why they can't remove them. Mid Sussex District Council today confirmed that they did not supply the barriers and they were not put there by the council. It was an obstruction of the right of way, and Scientology should not have done that. I'm continuing to liaise with the council and will continue to do so. I'm seeking some clarification on a few bits to do with the next steps with the public space and spaces protection order. And when it comes to the point to ask you guys to get involved, I will let you know. At the moment, the consultation is just for people who are there present at the protest on the day in person. But if it does go to public consultation, you guys will have an opportunity to have your say. And we will be outnumbered because there are 3,000 Scientologists that went to this event, and they're all going to supply statements about how our protest caused them disruption. There were only 18 of us on the Friday. So I've already highlighted this as a concern. So if it goes to public consultation, hopefully we can get some more numbers on our side to combat their numbers. So it's not just a case of us versus them. But as I said, I will continue keeping you updated. I will share more information like this and all these quotes on my blog, ScientologyBusiness.com. Thank you to everybody who has supported me so far. And thank you to everybody who has contributed coffees and things like that over the last couple of days. Please keep them coming. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's very expensive. Things like lawyers' fees will have to start getting paid soon. There are a lot of things that I'm going to have to incur as an expense, but I will do so because it's a case of fighting for our freedom to speak. So any donations would be greatly appreciated. But the number one way of supporting the channel is liking, sharing, subscribing, and all that sort of stuff. That's it for now from me, guys. I'll keep you in the loop as things progress. But once again, thank you. And I'm not fucking about.